Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens had a dominant Sunday night football performance in Week 4, and the Cincinnati Bengals got their first win of the season over the Carolina Panthers. These two teams will be facing off in Week 5 as the Ravens fly over to Cincinnati to take on their AFC North rival. My name's Tyler, and I'm here with my brother Ryan. We're going to break down the game and the matchups within the game that you need to watch, and at the very end of the video, provide our predictions for who we think is going to win and why. But before we get into that, Ryan and I, we do have a goal of trying to get to 100 new subscribers for the Week 5 prediction video series here. We've been able to hit that goal the past couple of weeks thanks to all of our new members to the channel. So thank you to them. And if this is your first time here, or if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the Tracy Take. Leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win and why. And so, Ryan, we all found out why Baltimore Ravens wanted to sign Derrick Henry. I think it took a couple of weeks. Derrick Henry had a good performance, but I think it was a kind of definitely a final stamp of approval. I think from all fans of Buffalo, like, hey, we're really glad that we got this guy here in Derrick Henry. If there wasn't already a stamp of approval from after they signed him, but starting off the game with an 87-yard touchdown run, probably one of the best ways to start the game. Maybe a 90-yard touchdown run would be a little bit better, but no one's being picky. On Cincinnati, though, they finally figured things out against the Carolina Panthers. Had just a good overall offensive game. Defense still, I have some questions about the defense, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But kind of want to throw it over to you. Through 4 weeks now through the season, the end of the regular season, preseason, as we like to call it, as a lot of teams, including the Bengals, I like to kind of use this month to really kind of get their kind of groove going, take some of the rust off. What is your kind of overall grade and kind of report card for these two teams at this point in the season?
Yeah, I mean, starting with the Ravens, probably a little bit below expectations. Just looking at the Chiefs one, I think is understandable. They were an inch away from sending that game to overtime or potentially going for 2 for the win. But even the Raiders game, they should have won that one. They were up big in the fourth quarter, and then to give up that lead, and then in the next week go out and almost give up the lead to Dallas there at the end of that game. I think a little bit concerning. However, they answered a lot of questions, I think, against Buffalo on Sunday night, and that was just an emphatic performance by everybody. Lamar was efficient. Derrick Henry was. I don't even want to use the word efficient because I feel like that is an understatement of what Derrick Henry's performance was against the Buffalo Bills. And so that to me, I think this Ravens team is going in the right direction, and they definitely have the star power to be a late playoff contender. And if they can run the football like that, they're going to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, if you can run the football like that every game, that would be something. But if
Derrick Henry only had 199 rushing yards, you're kind of shooting for that 200.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I agree with you that they're heading in the right direction about pushback. I think they're already kind of there. They just needed to get some better, just not make the end of game mistakes like how we saw in Las Vegas, for example. They almost blew the game against Dallas, but they got up early on them, and then don't know what happened really in the second half. Luckily, they had a big enough lead to where it didn't matter. And then here, I think in week 4, obviously they got a big enough lead, and then it was just game over.
And I'm not trying to poo-poo what they did on Sunday night, but to me they had 3 performances that left you wanting more. And even the Thursday night opening game against the Chiefs, they really should have won that game. They kind of let the Chiefs hang around. They had a few blown coverage. They gave Xavier Worthy a touchdown. There were definitely things that you could improve. So for me, through the first quarter of the season, you had 3 performances that left me wanting more, and then one absolutely astonishingly great performance. So that is kind of what I mean. I want to see that performance throughout this next month before I'm willing to say that they're there. But you can see that the wheels are turning and that they're going in the right direction.
Yeah. No, I understand, and I think it's. I still think they're one of the top teams in the
for sure,
the AFC. It wouldn't be surprised if they're hosting the playoffs again here as well. I will say too, the team they're going up against as well wouldn't be surprised if they're also in the playoffs. This is going to be a classic kind of AFC North matchup. Cincinnati Bengals finally got on the board here after having just a couple of close losses. They barely lost to Kansas. Actually, they barely lost all their games. They should have beat your Patriots, for being completely honest. Almost beat Kansas City. Yeah. I think Harrison Butker had to hit a 50-plus yarder to beat them as well. I'm sure there's some KC controversy in that as well. Washington played.
I support it.
the most perfect offensive game I think I've seen, and the Bengals also kind of let that happen as well. And so I think the Bengals are going in the right direction also. And so that's why I think this matchup is going to be pivotal as well. Because I think both teams are playing at this point in the season, I think, as well as we can expect week 5. And so still improvements, obviously, and you want to keep seeing improvements. So kind of moving on to this game, though, some of the kind of matchups to watch. But before we get into that, if you do want to put a couple of bucks down on the game, check the link down below in the description box. BetUS has a bunch of great promotions going on right now for first-time players, so you can take a look at this game or any of the other Week 5 games that they have going on right now. And so, when it comes to this game right now, the matchup to me, it's just so interesting because statistically, each team's strength on one side of the ball is the other team's weakness, and so what I mean by that, Cincinnati Bengals offensively, 6th best offensive passing yards so far in the season. The Ravens are ranked 30th when it comes to passing yards allowed. When it comes to rushing yards allowed, I'm not even at Baltimore's obviously the number 1 rushing team in the league by a long shot. So I'm not even going back over to that slide. The Cincinnati Bengals rushing defense is 25th overall. And if we go look at some of their performances as well, even against Washington, they had 108 yards. Chuba Hubbard alone last week had over 100 rushing yards against from a Carolina Panthers offense that you wouldn't expect to really, I guess, be capable of having a 100-yard rusher. They had 155 total rushing yards. So that's what's going to be super fascinating within this game is it's going to be which of the weaknesses statistically by the teams can kind of play a little bit above their weight. I will say I think the Baltimore Ravens defense is better to play above their weight because statistically they have been up in 3 of their 4 games as well. I think that might be skewed a little bit because Dallas Cowboys, I think, put up 361 passing yards. A lot of that was in the second half. So, so some of that was a lot of garbage time points. That being said, though, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow have been having some good connections. The addition of Mike Gesicki has at least been another tight end option for the team.
Now, T. Higgins is back from injury.
The rise of Andre Yoshua has been phenomenal. The combo of Zach Moss and Chase Brown in the backfield has been a much-needed addition overall. So offensive line isn't atrocious, as what we've seen in the past, which I think is kind of everything the Bengals fans is asking for. It's just a somewhat decent offensive line, and it's still not really that great, but it's improved compared to what it was over the past couple of years. So I think that's going to be interesting for the Bengals as they keep on improving. They really need this win. They don't want to go down 1-4. But on the flip side, though, one of the weaknesses for the Ravens team, in my opinion, offensively, was just this offensive line unit because they're a little bit younger. A lot of guys still coming in and kind of playing together for the first time. Over the past couple of weeks, they definitely have been playing well, and even coming off that Sunday Night Football game. This has been a Cincinnati Bengals team that has given up a lot of yards overall. Jaden Daniels looks like it wasn't a fluke of how great of a game he had against them, but they made them look like an MVP candidate. And so, can the Bengals stop the rushing game, or at least slow down the rushing game of Baltimore? And can Baltimore slow down Joe Burrow and this Jamar Chase passing game?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the big thing is who do you trust more, the Bengals running defense or the Baltimore passing defense? And not to get we'll just get into predictions now. I'm going to go with Baltimore. I think they're riding high after that Sunday Night Football win against the Bills. I think you look Cincinnati's run defense, and I don't want to overhype the loss to New England because that was they were just totally not prepared to come out and play. They looked like they just showed up that day for the first time at training camp, and they just got run all over. And that doesn't Jacoby Brissett is not a mobile quarterback. I can't even imagine what the threat of Lamar Jackson and a much better running game with Derrick Henry is going to do to this Cincinnati team. And I also I trust Baltimore's defense to organize a game plan to at least stifle Joe Burrow in this offense early in this game. And if they start to come back at the end, then that's one thing. But early on in games, this defense has been pretty solid so far. And I trust this Baltimore defense to at the very least, help the Ravens get a lead early in this game and put the Bengals in a situation where they have to be throwing the ball more.
That I think that's going to be kind of how this game goes. Is I do think Baltimore's going to get a lead, and then they're going to kind of turn into the prevent. And I think it's going to get a little hairy here because this might be. I mean, I know Dallas put up a lot of passing yards. I need to go look at their pass schedule. I mean, they did play Kansas City week 1, but I think this might be the best passing unit that they've gone up against so far. So I do think, though, that it's going to be something interesting as what you said, where I think Baltimore's going to get a lead, going to be dominant. But then I do think it's going to be get a little hairy as Cincinnati's going to start picking things up in the second half. And so I am also going to go with Baltimore here just because I think that lead's going to be too big. I actually did have penciled in Cincinnati for this win, but then I looked at just where their rushing yards were. I was looking at how many rushing yards I gave up against Carolina. And I just think that's just going to be too much to overcome. I think they're going to come out hot. And then at the same time, too, I say all that as well. Where are they ranked overall passing-wise? And they do have a top 10 passing defense when it comes to yards allowed, to be fair. So if they can get a lead and you got to make Lamar throw, that's going to be kind of tough. Well, Lamar and them can absolutely still throw against them, but it's going to be not the preferred game plan that I think they'd want to have. So I still think Lamar and Baltimore are going to come out on top here. So, but I think it's going to be a 31-28 type game.
Yeah, I agree that it's going to be a tight one. However, I see Baltimore dominating on the ground. And I'm going to say 35-21. I think Baltimore ices the game with a late Derrick Henry touchdown. And I just think Baltimore is going to be the more physical team. They're just going to be better in the trenches, I think, than Cincinnati. So we're both taking the Ravens here. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. If you have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Will it be the Baltimore Ravens? Will it be the Cincinnati Bengals? And that we'll see you guys next time.